Hey everybody, Dave here. I hope you're having an awesome day. So first things first, 22 days ago I hit 1,000 subscribers, and in 22 days I'm over 2,000 subscribers. So I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed, watched my videos, commented. I really appreciate it. It's super encouraging to me. So let's keep building stuff. I have this packaging, which is from the mini brands. It's the little toys that you can you just display them, but the packaging was pretty cool, and I've saved this. I've had it for a couple months, and yesterday I was looking at it and I thought, what can I do with this thing? And then this piece came out and I was like, oh, look at that. Nom, 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 nom. And I have the legs from my Buzz Lightyear Hulkbuster that I made a couple videos ago, and I was like, like how cool is this? So I gotta find some arms for it, and I want to make a little Pac-Man Droid bot thingy. So come on, let's do it. Alright, so the toy comes in this little cavity and there's a little film, so I've cleaned all that off. There's also a little holder that holds all of these pieces together. So I'm going to clip these off. I think what I'm going to first do is glue all these together so I have a nice solid sphere. One thing that's really exciting to me, and I kind of got a little giddy, was the legs are really posable for this. So what I want to do is take this wooden base and have the little Pac-Man bot running as if he's chasing a power pellet or a ghost or something. So it's pretty cool. So I've learned this just through the School of Hard Knocks. Sanding makes your life way easier for painting and gluing. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm just sanding this, gluing it, doing a light sand with wet sandpaper so the paint will stick to it really nice. Now I got to figure out how to get this body opened up. So if you don't have a Dremel tool, I would highly recommend one. They make life really easy. I'm just kind of cleaning up and getting this to fit nice. I am really liking how this is coming together. This is fitting really nice. This sanded up really nice. But as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking that this torso is a little too tall. The profile is a little high. So this may be a total risk and I might cause myself some trouble, but I'm thinking about sanding off or drilling off these two rings and lowering the stance. It may cause me some major troubles, or it may be awesome, but I think I need to do it. I just feel like this stance is too tall, so I'm gonna go for it. Alright, that worked out okay. I like the height of this a lot better. I did have to do some beveling on the inside just to get that circle to fit for this, this sphere here, the Pac-Man body, but it's fitting really nice, and the profile to me is a lot better. I think before it was up like here, it was just too tall. This feels a little bit more squatty and like a Pac-Man droid would be. So whew, dodged a bullet on that one. Okay, so I just wanted to walk you really quick through my thought process of how to put these arms on. Now, believe it or not, I have no clue how to actually build this. So I am just thinking through it, what makes the most sense. There might be a way smarter way to engineer this, but if there is, I don't know how. So I am just figuring it out as I go. So I've got these arms from a Mr. Incredible, and I know that I want it to be on here, and I could just trim this off, glue it on, and call it a day. But I really want it to articulate. So I was thinking, well, maybe I just cut off this outer piece and then I have this peg and I can try and do a friction fit, but I just don't know over time. And then does the arm fall out? I'm not sure. So I think what I'm going to do is I have this magnet here. It's a pretty good sized magnet. Then I've got these finish washers here, which have a little bit of a bevel on them. So I was thinking if I can figure out how to glue this washer onto this magnet, it gives me almost like a little socket joint Then what I want to do is I'll trim this off, drill out the inside of the arm, and I will put this metal ball bearing recessed into the arm. And once the arm is glued onto that, I believe I can almost use that as a little ball and socket joint. So I think that's what I'm going to try and do. I have no clue if it works. Alright, drill a hole, get that ready for the magnet, and I got this piece all glued up and ready to go, so let's see if it works. Click it on there, and wouldn't you know it, it doesn't work. The arm is too heavy. So maybe I was overthinking it. I'm looking at just these two magnets on their own. They're really strong. In fact, they magnet through my finger. I've got my hole here. It's actually perfect. I think I can glue that in there and then put this piece inside of that hole, and I think that'll work. Now, the one thing is this doesn't really conform, so I think I'm going to sand this to fit the shape of this. So a fun little tip is just hold some sandpaper to the form and sand your object that way. And another little tip is mark X's on your magnet to the way they stick together, because if you glue in a magnet, it is a total bummer if the polarity is reversed and they don't stick. So here we go, we got the magnet, it sticks way better, the arm is nice and stiff. I'm really liking this. Okay, so here's a quick update of where I'm at. I got these magnets in and I put the arms on, and the arms just felt too high. It was kind of weird and awkward. So fortunately for me, I had two of these mini brand balls, so I went ahead and redid it, and I moved the magnets lower so the arms fit more like they're lower on his body. Now, a couple of things. When I first did this, I maybe wasn't as careful as I could have been, and some of these didn't quite line up properly. I got a lot of glue in here, so it kind of filled up some of these cracks, and I wanted to keep these cracks because I feel like they look slightly robotic, as if the thing could collapse on itself and come back. And also, I was originally using these rubber gaskets that actually came with the packaging that actually hold these together, but it looks kind of sloppy as well. So I took a lot more care on this one in putting it together, and I think it looks way better. And I didn't bother putting those little rubber gaskets in, so now what I'm doing is I've got some tank hubs, and I am going to drop that in there. I think that looks pretty great. The one thing is I do want to cut out this little angle. So I've already done a little bit of work on this, and I'll just show you what I've done. I've got a hub here, and I actually, on the sandpaper, I ground it down about halfway because it was just sticking up too high. So I will take this and I'll sand this down and just take off about half of that material. Then I lined it up inside here, and I just took my snips and I just went dink, dink, and I cut it so I have a little C shape. But there was, when I cut this, there was a giant gap here. And all I did was I took a piece of scrap polystyrene, and you can see I'm right here, I'm gluing this down, and that is just to help fill that gap. The cool thing about this polystyrene is my glue is dry. I can literally just go and just snap that up like that, and go here. That looks great. I'll go here, I'll line up with that. There we go. I've just kind of closed off that little C shape. I'll come in here with some sandpaper and get all these little tiny edges off, but that looks pretty great. So now when I put this in here, that looks really cool. Now I've got this hole, and so I took another piece of hub inside. What I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this inside of there. I have to trim that out, but I'll glue that, and that'll just act as a little filler for that hole. Can't quite see it there, but I think that's gonna look pretty great. So I'm gonna finish this up and then we'll go prime it. Okay, so I got this thing all primed up and I painted the legs red and they looked really good. But as I say, haste makes waste. I did a clear coat over it to try and seal it in, and it cracked on me, so I spent a good hour taking all of this off and redoing it. What a disaster. Then I wanted to make a little ghost, so I just took a hairspray cap, dremeled out some little waves on there. That looks great. Paint the mouth black. This is looking really good. Now I got to paint the eyeballs on here. So I had my old body that didn't work out for me, but I'm able to use this to get some measurements for the center of the eyes. I'm doing some measurements from the bottom. I'm just marking some old things, and I'll take some masking tape and I'll just put that on there so I can kind of figure out how to line this up. And I just hand cut a eyeball stencil. I actually used a printout off the computer and then hand cut it with an X-Acto knife, and I'll be able to use this to actually just stipple some of the black paint on there. So this worked out pretty great for me. And there was a little bit of overpaint, so I just take an X-Acto knife and scrape that off, no problem. Paint the arms up just using some generic paint. Had to do about 6 coats of this because the paint is so thin. And then I'm doing the same thing for the tongue. I'm just kind of measuring the center area, hand cut another stencil for the tongue, tape it in there, stencil some red paint, and that works out pretty good for me. And then just some of the final touches, just putting some silver, maybe where the gears would be for the head and things like that. I think that looks pretty nice, and do the same thing for the little ball joints there. I did paint the little torso area black as well. Now for my base, I had these big wood knots in there. It looked kind of gross, so I thought I'll just put some polystyrene down. So I marked the edge with lead, so then I can rub either side, and it actually transferred the lead pencil right on there. Polystyrene is great. You just scribe it and snap. Then on the computer, I actually made in Illustrator kind of a maze shape, and I cut it out of vinyl, and I thought this will be amazing. I can do a cool little template. So I painted it all down, but you can see as I'm peeling this off, the paint just peeled right off of my base of spray paint. So I scraped it all off. I thought it looked horrible. Sanded it down. Look how fast I can sand. And then I cut out some cool sparkly vinyl. Okay, so for some Buzz Lightyear legs, Mr. Incredible arms, and a Mini Brands packaging, this thing turned out pretty cool. Let's check out some turnaround shots of this. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and the notification bell to let you know when I make new videos. And as always, it is a great day to be a toy nerd. Have a good one.